Breaking reality is no small feat, but there are those who fight for good that have the power to do so. For this list, I'm not really ordering these characters in terms of power, but more so just giving you 10 different people who can mess with what is real and fake. I'm Adam Andrews, and this is 10 heroes who can break reality. Feel free to order these characters by power in the comments down below if you so choose. Starting in at number 10 is Dr. Manhattan. Calling Dr. Manhattan a superhero almost feels kind of wrong, but I wouldn't call him a villain either. He's kind of like just a force of nature, or like a force of space and time. Honestly, a couple of the characters on this list do kind of fit into that category. I guess when your godlike abilities let you see all the events of your life simultaneously and the interactions between molecules, then your priorities are far and beyond the simple premise of good and evil, I guess. At the end of the Watchmen story, Dr. Manhattan leaves Earth and flies off to go and create life of his own. So that's the kind of power we're dealing with here. But as we're talking about warping reality, Manhattan is responsible for DC's rebirth. During the events of Flashpoint, when Barry Allen and Pandora tried to revert the Flashpoint universe back to how it originally was, Manhattan saw it all happening and interfered, removing 10 years from the timeline, creating the New 52 universe. He was blamed as the reason for DC trying to reboot their continuity. His molecular, atomic structure, time, and space manipulation all come together to let this character mess with our concepts of reality on the daily. Number 9. Legion. David Haller, the estranged son of Charles Xavier, is a very powerful mutant. He's also quite unique in the huge gallery of Marvel mutants. David has hundreds and hundreds of mutant powers that each belong to a separate persona and can be good or bad. For the purpose of our video today, there are several personas of David that come to mind. The first is straight up the Legion, which he describes as, quote, real me, and has been called a god mutant by the mutant magic. The Legion is able to both warp reality to his will and manipulate time, which he used to create the Age of Apocalypse and eliminate the Elder Gods of Limbo, which is a huge feat. Then there is the Weaver, who is a big old brightly lit spider-like creature that has the ability to change, morph, and otherwise refabricate reality itself, but it's one of the only personas that he can neither coax into his service nor assimilate with. There is also X, or Moira, that takes the form of Moira McTaggart and was able to best Professor X in psychic battle and warp reality, single-handedly creating the Age of X, where David would be seen as a hero and placed herself as the mother of David, which is a huge mind mess. While it's not really manipulation, the personality time sync can manipulate the flow of time, pausing time for Frenzy, freezing Magneto for 2 minutes, and showing Gambit memories of his own past. And then there is my favorite, the Origamiist, a massive sumo wrestler who can bend and warp the fabric of space. He has been used only once so far, when Legion was in danger from an explosion and he used the Origamiist to fold the explosion away into a separate dimension and teleport it away from the scene. That's insane. In at number 8 though is Franklin Richards. As the child of Reed Richards and Sue Storm, Franklin Richards was expected to be a big deal, and he really was. I say was because Franklin Richards is currently depowered as far as I know, but that could totally change if Marvel decides to. Before his depowering though, this kid had some pretty major reality warping abilities. There's an incredibly famous moment from the Fantastic Four story written by Jonathan Hickman, where Franklin is dressed up all rootin' tootin' in a Wild West outfit, strapped up with 2 plastic toy big irons. And he points these at Norman Osborn, and using his abilities makes them actually fire. It's insane. He has been shown to create a pocket universe, create life doubles of someone, bring back the dead, and create entire planets. Franklin is one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel universe, so much so that the Celestials even fear him. And it's not just simple reality warping. In that same Fantastic Four story, Franklin's older self went back through time to train his younger self and protect the Fantastic Four, and he made Galactus his herald in a comic book moment that will literally knock your socks off. I'm really hoping that over time his powers are returned and he does some more really cool stuff, because he's always been one of my favorite characters. Number 7. Dr. Fate. I think it's somewhat safe to say that magic is pretty much reality warping, and if it's not, then there are spells that are performed by Dr. Fate that are definitely reality warping. On his own, Kent Nelson is an accomplished sorcerer and has some knowledge of the mystic arts, but the majority of Kent's powers come from Naboo through the Helmet of Fate that grants him vast magical powers, including including reality manipulation, matter manipulation, and time traveling. He has rolled back the borders of the space-time continuum, and even though it's not really reality warping, he telepathically moved a planet, which, like, come on. One interesting moment was when he fought Mordru, and as the fight plays out, they are literally transforming from different dimension to different dimension. At least that's what I took from reading it, because it's just bonkers. He's been able to reassemble his own existence with a thought, fire miniature suns at Green Lantern, resurrect people, and has even changed a whole whack of people's blood type in order to save a man. We could go on, but we have others to talk about today. Like number 6, Doctor Strange, the other astronomically powerful magic-wielding character who goes by Doctor. Only, in terms of capability, Doctor Strange is not at the level of Dr. Fate. Doctor Strange is his universe's sorcerer supreme and master of the mystic arts, and he calls upon a group of cosmic entities known as the Vishanti for most of his power. The Vishanti are a trinity of godly beings that are some of the most powerful in Marvel Comics, and back in the good old days, Strange could use the magic they granted to do basically anything he wanted to. His usual mystical abilities include energy blasts, telepathy, transmutation, astral forms, invisibility and intangibility, telekinesis, flight, shields, illusions, time manipulation, elemental manipulation, teleportation, and then whatever random little spell he pulls out of his sleeves when a writer needs to do something crazy. In the Marvel What If series though, we actually see Strange Supreme, who is like regular Doctor Strange but on a different level. He was able to destroy his entire universe and ate a galaxy-destroying attack launched by an Ultron who possessed the Infinity Gems. But like I said, between him and Dr. Fate, Fate is coming out on top like 9 times out of 10. Number 5, the Spectre. The Spectre itself is actually a cosmic entity and is the physical manifestation of God's vengeance on Earth. But this spirit or entity needs to be permanently bonded to a human soul in order to manifest itself. Jim Corrigan, a fallen Hal Jordan, and then Crispus Allen have been the main 3 humans to be the hosts for the Spectre. The Spectre though is one of the most powerful, magical, and cosmic entities in the DC creation. But while the Spectre's power unchecked is nearly unlimited and is capable of shattering universes, he is generally limited by the presence to a lower level of power to prevent the power from corrupting him. But don't think that makes him a chump. The Spectre has the power to do pretty much anything. The Spectre is nigh omnipotent, he has the capability to alter reality, literally erasing people from existence. He can alter his size to grow to any height, and can fire off mystical blasts of eldritch energy. And he has vast magical capabilities as well that allow him to cast spells to do pretty much anything else he wants to do. His wiki says his superhuman strength can be, quote, as strong as he needs it to be, which, what does that even mean? The Spectre has infinite energy, has held apart 2 universes, can judge any reality in any dimension, and has the power to tear down heaven and hell, so he's making this list. Number 4, the Flash. Flashpoint. It's kind of the only thing we gotta talk about when saying that the Flash breaks reality. But this all comes from the Flash's ability to utilize the Speed Force, through which he can mess around with time itself. That's what happened in Flashpoint when Barry Allen went back in time and prevented the passing of his own mother, which is an act we can probably all understand. But unlike the rest of us, Flash can alter time, and when he did this, it created a whole other branch reality where the world and even himself were way different. Now, granted, this altercation of reality wasn't entirely on purpose, but the fact that he did it means he can also do it again, and he did when he tried to restore reality back to the way it was supposed to be. Sure, he didn't do that, but that's thanks to Dr. Manhattan. Or we could even talk about Wally West, who has an even greater control over the Speed Force, and he could and has messed around with it enough that given the right story, he could totally alter reality to whatever he wants. For a hero who started off as being someone who just runs really fast, he kind of sure as hell became a threat to our reality. Number 3, Divinity. Abram Adams, otherwise known as Divinity, is an incredibly powerful godlike hero who appears in Valiant Comics. And it's rather interesting how much he is like, but also unlike, Dr. Manhattan. Knowing full well his level of power and the impact his actions could have, he doesn't really involve himself in human level issues, letting us instead learn from the mistakes that we naturally make, which makes him sound a lot like a god, honestly. Abram came into to his power after joining the army of the Soviet Union and taking on a 30-year-long mission into deep space. Now during that mission, Abrams and his partners came upon a planet beyond the end of the galaxy called the Unknown. After removing his helmet, Adams breathed in the air of the unknown and was changed, granting him chronokinesis, or the ability to manipulate time, forced evolution and de-evolution, energy manipulation, molecular manipulation, and reality warping. Plus some more basic powers like flight, heat vision, telepathy, super senses, and immortality, all that fun stuff. Being from Valiant Comics, he's a little unheard of, but he's honestly a truly awesome and powerful character, and you should check him out. And at number 2 is the Scarlet Witch. There was a whole era in Marvel Comics pretty much focused on how the Scarlet Witch is such an extremely powerful reality warping character. Now to be fair, she kind of became the villain during that time, but normally Wanda Maximoff uses her chaos magic for the betterment of others. That's no fun, so let's talk about when she became an Avengers level threat. In Avengers Disassembled, after being accidentally reminded of her children, she brought back Jack of Hearts' body from the grave and used it to blow up the Avengers mansion, taking the life of Scott Lang. She made Tony Stark feel the effects of drinking even though he hadn't had a single drink. She made the Vision attack the Avengers with Ultron robots, causing She-Hulk to go into a rage, and then she made the Avengers fight an invasion of Kree warriors that she created with her magic, and Hawkeye sacrificed himself in that fight. She then created duplicates of the Avengers to fight them, and fast forward a little while, and she literally created a whole new reality where mutants were dominant and Magneto was the ruler of the Earth. And at the end of that arc, she revived Quicksilver, made Magneto's mouth disappear, and reset reality, but with 99% of the mutant population losing their abilities. I feel like that pretty much covers it all. And in at number 1 is Max Faraday. Most of us have heard of these reality warping heroes simply because of the crazy things they've done in their respective comic book universes, usually DC or Marvel, but I don't think a lot of people have heard of Max Faraday from the Wildstorm Divine Right series. I definitely didn't. Starting out as a pretty idiotic pizza boy who accidentally downloads the quote creation equation over the internet, that lets him inherit the near omnipotent powers of a god. Max is able to not just manipulate reality, but he can actually create reality through sheer force of will, and his powers didn't even take much of that will either. As long as he believed what he was doing, it could happen. He has been able to travel through time and to the furthest reaches of space. He has been shown bringing back those who have passed away, including himself, erasing the universe, creating new Earths, and when he actually passed away, tiny fractions of his power went hurtling through time and space and became the orbs of power that themselves could grant individuals with their own reality warping powers. Now I only just learned about this character and wanted to share with you lovely people, so that's why he is in at number 1. And that's all the time we have for today. I'm Adam Andrews, this is Top 10 Nerd, I'll catch y'all on the flippy flop. Peace out nerds.